Welcome to the Big Space Show.
A moment in space.
Where each week we host artists, creatives, innovators, entrepreneurs, pioneers,
And those who wish to shape reality.
Our goal is to think, shift, transform, and better understand the shared experience we all have, life.
So sit back, stay still, stay present, and join us on this journey as we uncover the stories that shape us. Let's spend a moment in space. A moment in space. A moment in space.
Today we have on DJ ACRYLIC. I'm your host, Love Sunny. Let's go ahead and get started.
Ooh, snaps for the host.
Okay. So how did you pick your DJ name, DJ ACRYLIC?
I wish I had a great backstory and a really deep meaning, but I was literally just driving down the road, saying things, just kind of figuring out words, making up words, and it just slipped out, and here we are.
You ever change your name? Like, do you ever think about that?
I don't think so. I think for the DJ project, I'm pretty happy with it. I'll probably, a lot of DJs or creatives start different projects and do different names. I might do that, but I think it's pretty decent. I'll probably stick with it.
Yeah, it's cool. I was gonna ask, are you a designer? Tell us more about, what else you do outside of being a DJ, because I know you're pretty multifaceted. So, do you identify as a DJ or,
Yeah, I would say in the last year it's getting a little bit looser because I've been starting to do a lot more things. But I'd say first and foremost, I'm a DJ. I produced. I haven't put out anything, which I need to. But yeah, DJ first. I would say creative in general is how I would, or maybe just artist, I guess. That's what it's on my bio. So,
yeah, for sure.
For going by that. But I make a lot of, I'm getting into a lot of art projects. So,
Visual art?
Yeah, for Dance Fest coming up, I have an art project called the Neon Side Quest. So it's just a bunch of different art installations that people can come up and see when they're at the festival.
Is this tech or paint? I'm just wondering. Or all of it?
So it's a little bit of both. Not so much paint, I guess, but love LEDs. I'm in the AV industry as a DJ, so anything lighting or sound is cool for me. So it's going to be made out of PVC pipe and LED strips. So
I don't know what that is. Please inform me.
Oh, actually, this neon sign is kind of what it's going to look like.
Okay.
So imagine a 3D cube that's really tall, and all the edges look like neon. So kind of like a framework is kind of my design style.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So
how would you say you got into AV tech, DJing? Were you a musician before or?
Yeah, I grew up playing guitar. Shout out Taylor Swift, because that's how I learned how to play guitar when I was 7. Got a guitar from my sister for Christmas, actually. And I was always just really into music. I started DJing, I think it was 2018 when I bought my first DJ controller. Did a wedding for one of my coworkers at the time, and it went great, and it was really fun. So, fast forward.
How old were you when that happened?
That was 2018. Do some math. 2019 or 20, I think. Yeah, somewhere in that range. So
18 or 19, is that what you said?
19 or 20, I think, is
okay.
How far it was, yeah. I think, it's 2025. Yeah, I was definitely 20. So, yeah, it's been fun. I got started with a company called Icon here, doing weddings for them. And then they're like, hey, you like lights. Can you come help us? So that's kind of, I feel like lights and music go well together. So yeah, that's how I got started.
Did you ever think about doing anything else, or it was always going to be music related?
So, fun fact, I did tree work for 10 years before I got into music. So it's trimming trees. I was a professional tree climber.
Oh,
so
cool.
That's what I did growing up a lot. And then had a company doing that, actually, and then sold that around the time I started DJing. And I was just like, man, I don't want to fall out of a tree. So
Yeah.
that's it was a little bit easier path to DJing, and it was a little bit more fun.
So what time do DJs like normally wake up? This is just like a random question I have.
I would say it depends on the DJ, obviously, but me personally, as late as possible. My ideal schedule would be like waking up at 11 to 1 p.m. and then being up till 5 or 6 a.m. and then sleeping again. So 'cause our work day starts at like 10 to 11 usually p.m.
Yeah.
So
You have a gig today?
I do. I'm playing in Lawrence later tonight.
Oh, cool. What
Yeah.
are you doing?
So there's a bar called Bullwinkle's. Shout out the Bull. Kansas University. I think it's their best bar in town. So, yeah, I'm just gonna go there, turn up for them.
All right.
Love that place.
What's your like routine before you kind of go into a gig? Are you like someone who like drinks a bunch of coffee or like water or tea or what's
Yeah.
like the vibe?
Definitely a caffeine junkie a little
Okay.
bit. I like coffee, but I really like Red Bull. Red Bull's like my savior, I feel like, before a gig. But as far as a routine, it really depends. Like before like a big set, like a festival, I like to try to like run around or do something physical right before, so it's like chills me out a little bit. Or else I'll get up there and be like, I don't know how any of this shit works.
Yeah, you
So,
forget.
Yeah. But just drinking a lot of water and trying to get my mind right, for sure.
That's awesome. How long have you been like teching and stuff like that too?
Yeah, not incredibly long, honestly. I was DJing, right, when I started working for Icon Event Group, and they introduced me to like all the other AV stuff. So
Okay.
like that's how I got into like video work and stage lighting and things like that.
Which one do you like think brings you the most joy?
That's a great question. I think DJing is still like the king as far as like it's hard to beat like playing a bigger set at a big venue and just like sharing music that you like with a bunch of people and then them liking it too. So
Yeah.
but I really do like the visual aspect of art too. So they go hand in hand, but I would say like 60% DJing, 40% visual arts, I would say.
Would you say you're someone who likes to do like a lot of stuff?
Yeah.
It like helps balance it so like the
Yep.
creative pool is like never ending.
Yeah, that's probably one of my biggest issues actually is having like, I could do this, I could do this, I could do this, and having too many things going on at once and some of them not getting finished. So recently
Yeah.
I've been trying to like focus on, okay, I could do that, but should I do that? You know, it's
Yeah.
kind of hard to balance like things. It's super easy to like burn yourself out when you don't need to, you know? So,
Yeah, sometimes putting like all of the different elements of the creativity into one project, I feel like helps me. So like if you're dropping a song or something, there's the creative aspect in it. But I mean, I don't know about LED lights in a song, but
Yeah.
you could. But all of that kind of combined and stuff, just like adding them into like one project so you can focus on all of them. But
Yep. Kind of like narrowing it down. Like have a bunch of ideas, pair it, like edit, I feel like is crucial. That's what I'm learning, I feel like.
yeah, but I don't think we should like ever like not do all of them, you know, because then we're kind of like limiting ourselves.
I feel like with everything, balance is crucial. Like you don't want to burn yourself out mentally, but you want to keep
Right.
yourself stimulated, you know, and finding that balance is,
It's a flow.
it's a flow. Yeah.
Who would you say like one of your biggest influences is in general, if you have one? Not everyone has one, but just
Yeah.
wondering.
I would say I kind of have different influences for different things, right?
Yeah.
So musically wise, like as an artistry, I think San Holo, he's an artist.
EDM, right? I think I like, or they pair with like Odessa and like Flume
Yeah,
and all that.
definitely in that track,
Went
like
through a
Lewis the
phase.
Child. Yeah, love it. But yeah, he's like definitely the artist that's like closest to like my soul, I guess you could say. As far as DJing goes, like the art of like mixing music, Jason Fallon, shout out DJ Hayden, love you, dude. He's definitely my biggest influence as far as like getting after it on the DJ controller.
Is that someone who taught you like hand in hand?
Yeah, I've definitely learned a lot from him. He's more of like a peer that I've like watched DJ a lot, and then
That's awesome.
he
Like
gives
someone
me-
you know.
yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. I definitely have like on social media like people that you see do things that are cool, but I feel like I get the most inspiration from my peers, you know?
Yeah. That's awesome. So whenever you're like DJing, how do you feel about sampling music? Like, is it considered, adding on to the art, or would you say it's theft?
I think music would be a lot less progressed if we didn't sample, because in a certain way, all art is a little bit influenced by everything around you. So, I mean, as long as it's respectful, like obviously copyrights are a thing. You don't want to be doing anything that's not giving credit where it's due.
Yeah.
But I think sampling is really important. Like some of the best songs in history are comprised of samples. So obviously, like the people that come up with 100% original ideas are super important.
Yeah.
But sometimes that won't spread as far unless it's somebody takes it, reworks it, and then puts it out again too. So
Yeah. Whenever you're DJing, I had a question. Do you have like a moral code of like what you play, what you won't play, and stuff like that when it comes to just like a gig and stuff? Like whenever you're doing something.
yeah, that's a super valid and I think especially today with some artists, that's a question that a lot of DJs are having. That's like, if an artist does something that's questionable or just like full on cancelable,
Yeah.
like should we play that?
Yeah.
We're at an interesting time in history where it's good we're asking these questions, but it's hard because sometimes
Like,
say,
is it still considered art,
exactly. So I tend to not play things, or at least not very much, that I don't super support everything the artist is about. It's hard, especially nowadays, like the last couple of years with certain artists, because, a really good artist can do some shitty things,
Yeah.
know? So I personally try to not support that. I was talking to my girlfriend about Kanye yesterday, actually.
I was gonna ask about.
Yeah, so here's my take on Kanye. I didn't used to like his music very much at all. But as I've gotten older and like gotten more into music, I appreciate the musicality of it. Like
Yeah,
he's a
super
really
talented.
good, super talented artist that I'm just now. I have dual thoughts on it. Like I'm kind of pissed that he's being an asshole because great artist, and now that I'm older, I actually appreciate his older stuff.
Yeah.
And now he's
Super nostalgic.
yeah, super nostalgic. So yeah, he's one of the artists that I try to not play, honestly, and it sucks. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword. It's I think you can appreciate the art without supporting the artist, but I think it's important to use our platforms to push what needs to be pushed,
Yeah. So what would you be like, supporting? Because I guess the question when I'm asking is like lyrically, do you ever like not support like maybe like some stuff that a child wouldn't want to hear or something like shouldn't hear or something like that? Or I guess that's a nuanced question whenever you think about it.
Yeah, like it depends on the setting, like a lot of weddings, you have family there or you have kids there. Anything corporate, we try to stay pretty clean, so it really depends because your job as a DJ is to provide energy and provide a service at the end of the day. And at least the gigs I do, the majority of them, the client or whoever I'm DJing for, there's no kids around and they just want to turn up for the most part.
Yeah.
So
Give them
Yeah.
what they got. So your name is you have a production company called Crowd Control, right? So like that's how you control the crowd.
So me and my buddy came up with that. We are not a crowd safety company. I know it looks like that, but
What do you mean?
like when I think of crowd control,
Like
sometimes
public safety.
yeah, I think of like some dudes in yellow vests or like like a crowd barrier or something,
Yeah.
So that's a name that my buddy Cardell, shout out Savage Habits, we came up with that to throw our first rave. I think it was like 2021, somewhere in that range. So that's a name that we keep around whenever we do throw shows, but it's just like a good platform basically. It's just
Yeah.
another
How often
brand.
you guys throwing shows and like events?
So we haven't thrown a show together for a minute now. We do a festival every year in Topeka called Topeka's Backyard Fest, or Topeka's Backyard Music Fest rather. We slowed down just because we were trying to like focus on our own personal stuff, and throwing shows is expensive.
It is.
If you're not doing super well. So
Yeah.
not to say we
And
didn't
just
do
to like
good.
add all the elements that you want to kind of bring the experience.
Exactly. Like quality is expensive if you do it in quantity. So I would rather do less shows, less events, and make them exactly what I want instead of spending energy, just pushing out
Yeah,
dates.
I agree. What would you say one of the biggest misconceptions is about being a DJ?
I would say the tide is turning on the public perception of DJs are just like straight up party people, if
Yeah.
that makes sense. Like, yes, we're professional party people, but I would say a lot of DJs I know are starting to like maybe like not drink alcohol or like not do
That's
anything
awesome.
else. Like I personally don't drink. And like we're tired after a gig a lot of times. Like when you first start DJing, like you got to network. I mean, you still got to network regardless, but you're like staying out later than you need to. And I would say a big misconception is like a lot of people that look like they're just like the coolest people up on stage are really like private and like introverted when they come off stage.
Yeah.
So it's almost like a meme. Like you come off stage and you'll just like disappear sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's partially because you're tired, but partially it's like, okay, that was just a lot of social battery I just used. So
Do you get like anxious before your gigs?
sometimes it depends on what I'm doing, but I've kind of like, I almost enjoy it because I know someday I'll probably look back and be like, damn, I wish I could feel like excited about something again, That sounds crazy to say, but when I feel like the butterflies, I know it's going to be a good one. So yes, I definitely do, but it's more of excitement than like actual like stress, if that makes sense.
Yeah. The fear is actually like the same emotion as excitement. So
Yep.
they can go hand in hand, just about perspective.
Anticipation for sure.
So why did you stop drinking? I don't want to pass that up. I was just going to
So
ask.
I got a DUI in 2022, I think. 2021, somewhere in there. And found out I have narcolepsy. So I fell asleep in a drive-through.
Oh.
When I felt good, like I was solid, and then I woke up and a cop was there being like, hey, dude, what's up? So I got a DUI.
Were you drinking at that time, or you were just like
I was coming home from a bar, and after they did the blood reports, so like when you drink, if you stop drinking, like in the night, your blood alcohol content actually continues to rise for about 45 minutes, and then it goes down.
Okay.
So I left the bar feeling good, feeling great, and the doctor said I was probably actually under the legal limit then, but I fell asleep and woke up like 30, 45 minutes later, way more drunk, because I had just pounded something, I think, right before I left. So woke up, not good to drive, not a good thing anybody should do, and just made a decision. I was like, this is just it's not really doing it for me anymore, and part of being a DJ, you're always around alcohol. So you're either, like if you drink only when you're working, then if you start to get booked a lot, then that means you're drinking a lot.
Yeah.
So it's
It's hard to have like self-control.
And it's like nobody wants to wake up hungover every day. So that's honestly a big reason. I just hate hangovers. I hate feeling nauseous. And this is probably the best decision I've made as far as lifestyle choice. It's just so much easier to function.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And thanks for sharing. How would you define a good song?
Ooh. I think the essence of a good song is something that's relatable to the human spirit. So, like, all the best songs are, a lot of times they're super simple, and it's just the product of either some people getting together and a vibe being created, or an artist being in a certain mind frame and that emotion coming out, and then you can hear it. I think there's a song that says good music comes from the heart, or something of that essence. That's where it has to start, So the harder you try to make a really good song, the harder it is, I feel like. It has to be natural.
Yeah. I think sometimes music can end up being like, the longer you're in it, it can become like super technical, which kind of like divides from the soul. I would still say like technical is important, but trying to like operate in both kind of takes away from like the emotion that connects to the art.
Yeah, especially today with everything that's digitalized, like everything's on beat exactly, It can be a little bit harder to feel like organic versus like back in the 80s or 70s, like everything was on, all right, let's run it through, hit record, you gotta go through the whole thing, there's
now
not...
you can perfect it and perfect it and perfect it.
Yeah, there's so many takes, so...
Do you think that originality still exists?
Yeah.
Or is everything now just kind of like a remix?
I would say definitely the trend is towards remixes. We're in a weird time right now because, especially after COVID, a lot of songs and edits and things are from like the last 10 years or last 20 years. Like things that did well before are being brought back. And some of it's just, because it works, but some of it's maybe like people are looking back at memories, So originality definitely exists, but it's just in a different way now, I think. I think COVID toned everything down a lot for a while, and people got a little bit more introspective because it's hard to make a club turn up song when nobody's going to a club for a year. So 5 years later, music is, I feel like, in kind of a renaissance period again, especially with pop, because we have like Sabrina and Chaperone and all the artists that are really trying a lot. They're getting rewarded for it, I think.
Is art more about the creative's intention or the audience's interpretation?
I think it's a good art is a perfect balance of both, I think. Because as an artist, if you can create something that sparks thought, you've already won, So, especially with things that are more abstract, like everybody's perspective of it is going to be a lot different. So, creating an interesting perspective is, I think, super valuable as an artist. Like making somebody think twice about something and be like, okay, what am I seeing here? I think that's at its essence a lot of what art is.
Do you think art requires suffering?
Sometimes.
Or is it just like a myth? Like, do you think there needs to be some form of a lesson that needs to be shared for it to be considered art? Or like, how would you, I guess, define that?
That's a good one. I feel like some art, for sure. There's, as far as a lesson, I'm not 100% sure on if you have to have it, but some art's just for fun, Some art can be silly, but some art's like really deep. So some of the most simple, like, I'm trying to think of the word when somebody just does something in public, like it's super simple. They're just like
Like on spot, that type of art? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, or like there's people that will like set up in Times Square and then
Oh, like draw people and stuff
yeah,
like that?
draw people, or they'll like performance art. That's what I was trying to say. So like anything that's like an action happening that's kind of simple and out of place, that's meant to be an art form. I think some of those can be really crazy, and like I've like one piece that's coming to mind is there's a robot, I forget where it's at, that's attached to a swivel, and it has a squeegee on one of its arms, and it's purposely been made to have a hydraulic leak, so the thing that is running the robot is leaking out of it, and the robot is constantly reaching out and squeegeeing back all of its hydraulic fluid into its own container, but over time the leak gets worse just naturally. So it's kind of like a cool visualization of like it's slowly dying, but it's doing the best it can. So I don't know if you can picture that, but
I'm trying to. I kind of see that as a lesson, though. Like, is it trying to conserve something?
yeah, it's trying to like self-preservation, I feel like is the
So it's trying to share that, like, we should do something specific? Is it, like, trying to share a message with us?
I think so. I mean, what I got out of it personally was it was like some struggles are in vain, but it's okay to keep trying while you're doing that. Like if you can see the end of something is coming, that doesn't mean you should just stop now. You know?
Yeah, you gotta keep going.
Gotta keep going. How long of a
Yeah,
how long have you had this Big Space name? He was saying you came up with it when you were a lot younger too?
since 15 or 16, so I was like 15 or 16.
That's super cool.
Yeah, but it didn't get like brought into life until like 2021. It was
Okay.
just something that like was like just imagined and thought up actually with like two girlfriends, like when we were like in high school and stuff like that.
That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
Sometimes I told him like right before he left, like good ideas will come to the surface eventually, you know? Like
Yeah.
I feel like I have a lot of things that are in the back of my head that I can't do quite yet, but they'll come out sometime. So it's important to keep your dreams alive, you know?
Yeah, you gotta organize them and just kind of keep working through them, you know? Because it was almost like, and then you gotta, like you can push them to the side, you know, depending on life and like what's kind of happening too. So,
Yep.
especially as we get older, because when you're a kid, you're kind of taught like, follow your dreams, and then like, you go, it's a journey, more so than just the straight path.
Yep.
But life can be presented to us in like a straight path sometimes. So then you feel like everything should be that way.
Yep. Yep.
But the journey, I think, is better than the straight path. It kind of gets boring.
There's no experience without a journey.
What changes have you noticed in the club culture over the years?
That's a good one. I've noticed Kansas City is a perfect example of this because we're not a huge city, but we're not tiny. So
What would you compare it to?
I would compare it to. It's definitely. Since it's like literally textbook Midwest city, I would compare it like size wise. So this is an interesting fact. Kansas City is bigger than New York size wise.
Yeah.
Right. So it's very like spread out. It's not very dense, but as far as like the spread of the buildings and how far it reaches, especially if you include like Olathe and like, you know, all the surrounding areas, it's pretty big. So I would compare it to something like the vibe of, man, it's not Austin, it's not a Denver, it's not a Phoenix, it's, you know, it's, I don't know.
It's its own thing.
It really is its own thing. It's not a Chicago. It's not a, I really don't know. I don't know what I would compare it to. But as far, back to your question, I think, so in the last, 4 years or so, there's been a shift towards, instead of people just going out every weekend to like any place, I feel like people are a lot more thoughtful about where they're going and why they're going there. So, like,
Would you say that's because like the climate is changing and just like culture? Maybe not the bars themselves, but just like people's intentions are changing on like where they want to go.
yep. And I think COVID, again, I brought that up so many times, but I think that was a huge factor because like once people were allowed to go out to clubs and the clubs were open, you had to choose like where are you going, you know? You're a little bit more mindful. So there's a kind of a split in Kansas City between like Power and Light district, like the more commercial club space, and then you have Westport and Aura with like the crazy production, and then you have the West Bottoms vibe also, so like a little bit more underground, like in the Lowest Ferns type of vibe. And those subgroups are shifting more towards the less commercial side, is what I'm seeing at least. Like Cali Sound Room, shout out those guys. In the Lowest Ferns, shout out those guys. In the West Bottoms, they've kind of like provided a new genre of club space in KC, and I think it's good.
What's your favorite genre to play?
To play is halfway between like future bass and trap. I think super melodic, like epic melody that's really deep. I think, like, I don't know if I'm going to cry or turn up type of music.
Okay, can I have an example?
Yeah,
like just a song.
There's a song by Himanu, I think is how you pronounce their name, and it's called Leave You. And it's just it's a trap song. I don't know, it's just like a very moving song in an aggressive way, but also in like a
Like in a
emotional
physical
way.
sense, like with the actual beat at the same time emotionally.
Yeah.
So they really feel something.
Yeah, it's like you have artists like Illenium there, just like, you know, super like emotional and soft and like, oh my God, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And then you have artists like Excision there, like opposite spectrum. So they're just really heavy, like headbanging, you know, turn it up to the max. And I like to kind of have a mixture of those two in a way, to where like imagine going through a breakup and then writing a song about it, and you're able to hear like hurt and hope at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
So resilience.
Yeah, kind of a resilient joy is how I would describe my taste in music.
Is that something that you're like, you would listen to anyways? Like, is that something like you connect with? Like, what's your connection whenever you're trying to like play music, make music? Like, oh, what's going on?
Yeah, so I feel like it depends on, as far as a DJ goes, like commercial wise, it depends on where I'm at. So being open format, I'll play what I need to play to make the dance floor go off, right? So that's anywhere from like country at a wedding to, you know, dubstep at an EDM set on a festival. So there's definitely a wide gamut of what I'm able to play, but what I resonate the most is stuff that just feels fun, you know? Producing wise...
Sorry.
There you go, we got it. Producing wise, you know, house is obviously I think personally it's the most simple to produce. Maybe not the most, but it's a lot simpler than some genres that I like to listen to more. Mm-hmm. But you gotta start somewhere. So producing, I never know what to make, because I'm like, I could make this.
Yeah.
I could make this. It just depends on my mood, honestly.
And like what you're feeling.
Yeah, the older I get, the more I appreciate more genres, I would say.
How do you use music to like explore your inner self?
I think it's fun to see what I like or not, like keeping an open mind and then just seeing what I vibe with. So my personal way of like finding songs and like keeping them is I use YouTube Music. It's not sponsored yet. But I'll just hit, you know, add it to a playlist, and then I'll go back and see all the songs I've liked over the last like few years, and you can kind of see where my head's been at, because I'll like kind of resonate with this style of music a little bit more during this section, and then maybe it'll come back around when I hear a song and I'll get back into that genre. So what was your original question?
How do you use music to like explore and understand your inner self, whether you're like producing or DJing or...
Yeah, I think being self-aware and just watching what I gravitate towards is a learning experience, because it's fun to see like, okay, why am I in the mood to play this song right now, you know?
Yeah.
Because some gigs I'll be like, I know exactly what the first song is that I'm going to play.
That's cool.
And some I don't, but it's super fun when I'm like, yep, tonight we're turning up. This is going to be the intro, for no other reason other than I haven't heard it in a while and I know it'll go off. So
What's something that you would try to give like advice to the next DJ coming in?
find something unique and go with it, because it's really, really hard to get to the top nowadays, or even just make money, you know? Like, that's a big thing. Is if you're doing it for a hobby, that's awesome. You don't really have to worry about the money aspect, but you can make money from it. And if you do make money from it, it'll make it to where you can allot more time to it, because it's a good investment of your time. Yeah, the hardest thing is just like get as good as you can, because somebody else is trying to do that. So art's not a competition in my brain, but if you can provide the best version of you when you're DJing, you're going to have a lot easier time, I think. Learning to DJ is easy. The mixing of it, I would say, is relatively simple, like the theory of it, you know? But learning what to DJ, that's the hard part, you know? I need to talk to myself about this one, because I'm horrible about posting content, but in today's world, like, content's everything for a DJ. Yeah. So your online presence is super important. Not being a dick. Like, for every DJ, there's 20 more that would love to be where you're at. So work hard, treat people nice, and just be nice to people, and do your best every gig, you know? And just practice. So.
Okay, and one last question. What's something that you wish more people understood about what you do?
This is a great question. I need to use it wisely. I think when it comes to understanding me as a person, as a creative, important things to understand are, I do a lot of music stuff, I do a lot of art stuff, but I don't even know what I'm going to do next sometimes. So I think building a good brand is important, and keeping your mind open to new types of projects is what I think is going to be the theme of my next year, because I think I'm going to start a new project called Jade, and that's going to be for the art installations. So we'll see where that goes, but I'd love to do some art installations for maybe Electric Forest or different festivals around the country. So yeah.
That's awesome. Good luck.
Thank you.
And then also just a little backstory, like this is just like at the end, which should have been at the beginning, but like where are you from? Sorry.
Yeah, so I was born here in Kansas. I was adopted.
We're in Missouri.
Yeah.
We're on the Missouri side right now.
Dang, we are. Shout out Casey Mo. Yeah, so I'm from across the border.
What is that?
And
oh,
yeah, I'm from Kansas. I know we're in Missouri right now. Gotta give the flowers. Love you guys.
Oh, okay.
But let's see. My ethnicity is a mixture between black, white, and native. I get Indian a lot. I'm not Indian. Sorry, guys. What was this question again?
Just kind of like where are you from, and then
yeah,
we kind of talked about like how you got into DJing and like your past, but I just wanted to know like where you're from and if that kind of had like an impact on your music.
I was raised super religious, So we didn't have radio, we didn't have TV, we didn't have any outside music at all. Like hymns were about the most turnt we got. So I think, honestly, I think there's a huge influence from not having that music and then hearing EDM when I was like maybe 14, 15. That kind of sparked a like, holy shit, this music exists out here. Like, what even?
That's awesome.
Didn't even know the concept of EDM or electronic or even like a lot of just music in general. And I think I just took that and ran with it, and now I play music for a living. So
that's awesome, because I feel like you have one less of an influence by the outside world.
Mm-hmm.
Two, a lot of music is like, it's, what's the word, worldly.
Mm-hmm.
So not having that worldly influence, like, poking at your brain, because I feel like it gets passed down to, like, children. Not listening to that, I feel like growing up, and you say you didn't listen to music really until, like, 14, especially, like, lyrics that aren't like that, I think that's so cool, and shout out to your parents.
Yeah, they honestly, I mean, here I am, so
Yeah.
shout out to them. It was hard back then because I wanted to listen to music so bad. I used to have a little tiny radio that I would sneak in my bed at night, and if I held it just right, I could get some radio stations. I think that was a little bit younger than that. Was like 2008, 2009.
Mm-hmm.
So that year range was the first time I heard outside music ever. So
wow,
it's definitely an interesting perspective as a DJ to, like, I'm basically learning all this in retrospect. I didn't grow up with it. My parents weren't listening to it, so definitely a different vibe. But it's been fun, Definitely a good fresh set of eyes on what music is, I think.
do your parents like you listening to that music now?
I don't think so. They didn't like it then. They're cool with it. Like, I've got them to come out to a club actually. Last year, that was fun when I opened for Flex Pavilion. They came out, but yeah, they don't super vibe with it, but they vibe with what I'm doing. So that's cool. At least they don't beat me up about it. But,
Well, that's cool. I'm glad they protected your ears as a child. That's pretty much it. It's like a weird way to end, but
it's okay. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so glad we had this conversation. Shout out to DJ ACRYLIC. DJ ACRYLIC. Yeah, follow your Instagram.
Yeah, so shout out to Big Space Studios for having me. Couple things coming up. I have this next weekend, I'm open for Flosserdamus at Voodoo Lounge here in Kansas City. So I don't know when this gets posted, but if you hear this and it hasn't happened, get tickets. If you hear this and it already happened, you missed out. So sorry, you got to stay up on it. We have Backyard Fest happening again this year. Follow all my Instagram at DJ_ACRYLIC. It's acrylic like nails, but spelled with a K at the end. So that's all I have for you.
Alrighty. Thank you so much for being on the Big Space Show. A moment in space. I'm so happy to have spent a moment in space and time with you. Stay present, stay still. See you later. Peace.